These are narrative-shifting games. I know it's early, but Jayson Tatum has an opportunity to make a statement, even at an early point for MVP. He has had a sensational start to the season, averaging 30 points per game. When you look at ESPN and go on the app and see who's leading in all the categories, all but steals, he is leading. Most importantly, field goal percentage. That's his highest he's ever had in his career. That is something that is huge. Now, I mean, he may not say it, he may say it, but this is a motivation factor. No Jaylen Brown, right? So it's an opportunity for him to be that leader, undeniably, and sort of on this nationally televised game where a lot of people are still talking about what happened over the summer, to say that he's top dog. I love it. It's a great opportunity for him. Yeah. We'll see if he makes the most of it.
Yeah, he has had several opportunities to make a comment about this game, and he has passed on it. He has focused on
the game.
The game. He's averaging 13 threes. I think we're going to see tonight. We're going to see Steve Kerr getting booed heavily by the Boston crowd.
I do not think that is a bold prediction.
And we're going to see Tatum shoot a lot of threes and score a lot of points because he's going to have to with Jaylen Brown. And quite frankly, Kerr will accept the booing. Maybe the messaging wasn't great. I don't think he regrets what he did. And if that empowers Tatum a little bit, that's fine. I don't think Steve Kerr feels bad about decisions he made as Team USA.
Yeah, because they won. So obviously,
yeah,
it's not,
because they won.
He don't feel bad, but Jayson Tatum damn sure feels some type of way. And I don't care if he denied or not, he definitely feels some type of way because he's come back this season with a chip on his shoulder. And Wendy, I know you're gonna say, and you always been preaching that, hey, the NBA is not the Olympics, and what. The Olympics, the NBA, the YMCA, the Euro League is all basketball. And guess what? We're talking about a guy that's an all-NBA player, a young superstar in this league, fresh off a championship, and he felt disrespected. He was out of the rotation.
When I was over in Paris reporting on this, every single player that I saw have a reaction or ex-player who works at this network or went on social media all said the exact same thing, and they sided with you. And so I have to acknowledge that it really played very poorly with the NBA players and Jayson Tatum. Mm-hmm. But if I admit that, can we admit that there is indeed a difference between an NBA game and an Olympic game? That those two things are different. And if you evaluate how Jayson Tatum would have liked to have been treated for an NBA game, that you can't evaluate it like it was a FIBA game.
But tonight, it is an NBA game.
Yeah,
tonight, it is going down as an NBA game.
And if Steve Kerr was coaching Jayson Tatum tonight, he'd get his 13 and his
But the Warriors
points.
are coming into this one having won 4 in a row, right? They're not coming into this one slogging through the season necessarily. Chiney, is there anything that you're seeing from Golden State that makes you think that they could be in this game?
Look, this is fun. I told y'all this matchup is one of those ones that gets me so excited because, as we all know, the Warriors dynasty as we know it is gone. But the good news is that Warriors basketball looks to be back. Right now, there's a player out shooting Steph Curry from 3, coming off the bench. And there are 8 players with multiple assists per game. And I'll show you exactly what this offense looks like. It's different from the past, but it's very efficient. Steph Curry initiating the offense. Normally he fires. Instead, he's patient. This is when the ball starts moving. Great screen by Kevon Looney. Great vision here. You're going to drag the defense to be able to finish on the second level. So that's the type of assist. Steph is not settling, and now his teammates are better for it. Moses Moody, typically you can come off of this type of screen and get a 3-point shot. Again, they ain't settling. Instead, you have the vision, knowing that the all-time greatest 3-point shooter is coming off. And look at that push off to get the separation, to knock down the 3. It's not just that they're making threes, it's the fact that they're passing the ball and doing it at a high clip. There have been a lot of question marks about whether this 13-man lineup will work. I've been a little bit ambivalent, like, will it work? So far, the answer is yes. They're only behind the Celtics in made threes, 16.4. They're shooting near 40% as a team and averaging over 30 assists per game. So y'all, Malika, I know where you're from. Yay area. It feels like they're kind of back.
All right, friends, it's time to go in the bonus on this game, and we're going to start with Jayson Tatum, who has averaged 27 points against the Warriors over the last 5 seasons. That's the 8th most by any player against Golden State in that span. The Celtics, they have played the Warriors better than anybody during the Steve Kerr era. They are an NBA best 11-9 against Golden State in this time. One of 2 teams with even an even winning record against the Warriors here. And then this matchup, it'll feature the only 2 teams in the NBA NBA to rank in both the top 4 in the league, both offensively and defensively. Golden State is 4th in offensive efficiency, 2nd in defensive efficiency, while Boston ranks 1st and 4th on offense and defense, respectively. All right, so with that all as the backdrop, let's go to Tim Bontemps, who's in Boston for tonight's game. The Celtics are, of course, looking to repeat. The last team to do that was the Golden State Warriors. So, Tim, you dropped a story this morning on ESPN.com, and you see some parallels between these two franchises. What are they?
Well, there's a few of them, Malika, beginning with, as you just played in that clip leading into this segment, Jayson Tatum coming into this season with some doubters about his performance both last season when he didn't win Conference Finals MVP and Finals MVP, Jaylen Brown taking both those awards, but then obviously the stuff that went on with Team USA, Steve Kerr not playing him in the 2 Serbia games, something became a big story as part of Brian's time covering the Paris Olympic Games. And obviously Steve Kerr back here in Boston tonight. It's going to be a big topic of discussion tonight before the game, and I'm sure he'll hear some things in pregame intro, Steve Kerr will. But for this Celtics team, this is a group that, like that Golden State Warriors team, plays with a versatile style with a bunch of shooting all over the place and guys that can play at both ends of the court. It's a group that added a guy in Drew Holiday that's a perfect glue piece like Andre Iguodala with that team back then. It's built around a couple perimeter stars, Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown, that are homegrown, like Klay Thompson and Steph Curry were back then. But the biggest thing, I think, Malika, that ties these teams together is that 73-9 Warriors team came into that season determined to prove that their win the year before was not a fluke after people questioned them winning that championship against an injured Cavs team without Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving after Game 1. The Celtics obviously went through the playoffs. Tyrese Halliburton getting hurt, Donovan Mitchell getting hurt, Jimmy Butler getting hurt, playing a Dallas Mavericks team with Luka Doncic compromised. All of that has led to them coming into this season with a lot of motivation. They've obviously gotten off to a great start as a result.
That's very interesting. Not only the motivation of a Jayson Tatum, maybe more personally with what happened at the Olympics, but also this group looking to prove, hey, you know what, we belong here. You mentioned Jaylen Brown. We know, though, for tonight's game, he's out, right, with a hip flexor issue. Is there anything else to report on the injury front?
Well, the other thing is that Stephen Curry, who came back and played with that ankle issue in Washington on Monday, played 24 minutes, was on a strict minutes limit. After that game, Steve Kerr said he didn't expect there to be any sort of minutes cap on Curry today. I was here at shoot-around this morning at the Garden. Curry was going through a normal workout, walked out of the arena, perfectly good spirits. Seems like he's going to be ready to go for tonight's game. And as Brian mentioned earlier, he was talking about his list, this Warriors team, 6-1 coming into this game, playing a bunch of guys, has gotten off to a great start. We'll see what they look like going up against this Celtics team that certainly is right now favored to get out of the Eastern Conference. The most important update of the day to Malika is my 4th wedding anniversary. My wife Kelly's watching at home, so happy anniversary to her.
Happy anniversary to you and Kelly. Thank you so much for all of those updates, Tim. That game tips off our doubleheader. It's at 7:30 Eastern, and then it's out to L.A. for Sixers-Clippers. Paul George's first game against his former team. We're going to be there with you, NBA Countdown, at 7 o'clock. So, Chiney, Warriors, Celtics, who you got, sis?
Celtics. I feel like, it's going to be an opportunity for Tatum to show up. And so I'm going with the C's.
Look, I know they're going to be mad at me. Originally, I was going to pick the Celtics, but after thinking, my thoughts, once my mind gets wandering on this show, I'm actually going with Golden State.
Why?
With Jaylen Brown tonight.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah, I think Steph could
We should make a little side bet, Chiney.
Right?
You already owe me fixed.
Make a little extra perk off the books.
You already owe me.
I delivered on my bet.
So notice how the graphic is not popping up. That's because Perk's thoughts have been swirling to the point and changed. So you're going.
Sorry, Tony. Yeah, I'm going.
You're percolating and you're.
All right, look, we should run it up.
All right,
food's on the line again.
Chiney, I'm going with you.
That's not good. That's not good.
As soon as I said that, I said, whenever Chiney and I pick the same team,
it's not gonna work.
Yeah, it always
it's okay,
doesn't
but we
work.
always work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We got this.
We good.
All right, those are our picks. Who are yours? You can lock in your picks with ESPN Bet, the official sports book of ESPN. New customers can get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Download the ESPN Bet app to get started today. Wendy, we know you do not make picks in this one, but what are you watching most closely?
I'm now thinking about Perk knows that when you guys make the same pick.
It's like Bob Myers. You always have to pick against him when he makes picks. That's also a rule.
So Golden State has got the number 2 defense in the league right now. And I mean, by the way, the distance between 2 and 3 is enormous. They and Oklahoma City have completely distanced themselves. Can their defense hold up under the onslaught of that three-point shooting? It's going to be a great test.
Still no Kristaps Porzingis, no Jaylen Brown. Hey, they're deep. They got perimeter defense in the Golden State Warriors. This is a perfect opportunity for Steph to steal the show.
He's going to owe us some gumbo.
MVP.
Yep.
Loading.
All right. We'll see you on NBA Countdown in just a couple of hours.
The Golden State Warriors nearly landed Paul George before the Clippers pulled the plug, sitting at a strong 6-1 this season. The Golden State Warriors look like one of the top contenders in the Western Conference once again. But just before the season tipped off, they nearly had a chance to add another superstar to their lineup, former Clippers swingman Paul George, who recently made his season debut with the 76ers. The Clippers were open to dealing with a division rival, Rodom Youngmisuk, but only if it brought significant value to replenish their asset pool, especially if they were taking on an unwanted contract. A trade involving George for Andrew Wiggins, who has 3 years and $85 million left on his deal plus other matching salaries, could have worked. But the Clippers insisted on receiving a young talent like Jonathan Kuminga or Brandon Podziemski, along with 1 or 2 draft picks. At 34, George was one of the hottest free agents of the 2024 offseason. After 14 years in the NBA, he remains one of the league's premier talents. Ultimately, the Clippers made the tough call to part ways with him, shifting their focus to building around Kawhi Leonard and James Harden. With full control over his next move, George signed a massive 4-year, $112 million contract with the 76ers. Meanwhile, the Clippers were tooled with players like Nick Batum, Derrick Jones Jr., Kevin Porter Jr., and others. At one point, the Warriors were working on a plan to bring George into the fold over the summer, envisioning him alongside Stephen Curry and Draymond Green as a force in the Western Conference. As one of the NBA's elite two-way players, George would have elevated the Warriors' ceiling significantly. With last season's averages of 22.6 points, 5.2 rebounds, and 3.5 assists per game, he still has plenty in the tank and could have softened the impact of Klay Thompson's potential decline. Unfortunately for Golden State, the deal fell through when the Warriors declined to include Kuminga or Podziemski. Wiggins alone wasn't enough to seal the trade, and Golden State eventually turned to acquiring Buddy Hield instead. Now it's 6-1. It's fair to say the Warriors are pleased with how things have played out. They look poised for a deep playoff run in the West, even without George. As for George, only time will tell how he'll fare in Philadelphia. But one can only imagine what he might have accomplished alongside Stephen Curry, benefiting from open shots and locking down opponents in Steve Kerr's system. Though this scenario is now just a what-if, the season is just heating up. The NBA landscape is ripe for another blockbuster move that could shift the league's hierarchy in the years to come.